Welcome back to another ARC 3.0 build video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about something that's I feel like is pretty standard when it comes to any activity that requires a good amount of boss DPS. We're coming back to the Hunter and we're making a build focusing around the exotic boost, the Star Eater scales, and being able to max out that super damage when it comes to boss DPS. But before we get into it, if you like what you see, again, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then turn that bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on another one of these build videos. So let's dive into it. So the first thing I'm going to cover is the exotic, the Star Eater scale. So this is what they look like normally. It does come with an ornament that makes it look like, I guess, like a kraken, I guess. That's probably the best way I can describe it. But in any event, its perk, Feast of Light. You gain additional super energy from orbs of power you pick up. While your super energy is full, picking up an orb of power overcharges your super and causes you to gain a burst of healing when cast and bonus to your super damage. At maximum overcharge, you gain an overshield. So the main thing here is to be able to create a lot of orbs to be able to get our super quickly, on top of being able to collect more orbs to allow our super to do even more damage. Under the ARC 3.0 subclass, I'm choosing Gathering Storm. Again, this is the new Hunter super. We're pretty much going to launch our staff at a boss and allow it to do that damage over time, while also allowing us to use our heavy weapons on a boss. So this one is definitely the big one that we're going to be choosing here. And on top of Star Eater scales, it's going to do even more damage, which is great. Now, ability-wise, I'm going with Gambler's Dodge here. When I dodge near target, it recharges my melee ability. Jump, doesn't matter. I'm just going triple jump. And then Combination Blow, for obvious reasons, allowing me to get a melee kill to get my dodge back, dodge and get the melee back to get Combination Blow ×3 for extra melee damage. Again, that's just something that helps you out. It also restores a small amount of health, which, again, survivability is key here. Grenade-wise, you can use whatever grenade you want. I just have Storm Grenade on. Aspect-wise, first up, Lethal Current. After dodging, your next melee attack has increased lunge range, jolts the target, and creates a damaging aftershock. Damaging any jolted target with melee attacks also blinds them. And then Flow State. This is the big one. Defeating a jolted target makes you amplified. While you're amplified, your dodge recharges more quickly, and you are more resilient while dodging, and your reload speed is greatly increased. This is going to be kind of the big one, because being amplified with this subclass is going to be very important, because again, we're going to want to get our super back quickly, which is where this fragment comes in. Spark of Amplitude. Rapidly defeating targets while you are amplified creates an orb of power. Again, more orbs of power, more super. It's going to work out. Now, the other ones I'm using, I would highly recommend Spark of Resistance. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. This was obviously very, very good, especially in high-end gameplay. And then Spark of Feedback. I'm just going with this one. You can choose really any one of them for this one, but Spark of Feedback, when you take melee damage briefly, it increases your outgoing melee damage. Like I said, you can change this one for whatever you want. This is just the one I'm using. And then lastly, I'm recommending this one. Finishers make you amplified. You get a +10 to recovery. But again, the reason we're going to be amplified, which we're going to talk about later, is because of one of the mods in the artifact. Next, let's talk about the armor mods that I'm using. So for the Elemental Well mods or any Charge of Light mods for any of my builds, honestly, you can put them in any armor slot that you want. Whether something's on the helmet, you want to put on the class item, it really doesn't matter. But for these mods in particular, for this build, I would recommend all of these, just because I believe, from what I've tested, they are the most productive for this build. On the helmet, main things to note here, elemental armaments. Basically, our arc weapons are going to have a chance to create an elemental well, which is going to be really good. Next thing is hands-on. Gain bonus super energy from melee kills. Again, if we're going to have Combination Blow and we're going to be chaining that with Gambler's Dodge, getting melee kills, we might as well get more super energy. Then on top of that, rapid weapon final blows with damage matching your subclass type, creating an orb of power. Again, if we're going to be rocking arc weapons already with elemental armaments, we definitely want Harmonic Siphon to be paired with that. Now for our gauntlets here, main thing to note here is Font of Might. Picking up an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type grants a temporary bonus to weapon damage of that same elemental type, so our arc weapons are going to do more damage for a period of time. On the chest piece here, main thing to note is Melee Wellmaker. Powered melee combatant final blows spawn elemental wells matching your subclass energy type. For this one, if you want more consistent elemental wells, I'd like Melee Wellmaker is going to be good, but I think also with the arc weapons, with elemental armaments, you're also going to create other ones as well. This is just kind of like, oh, I need an elemental well, melee target, get a kill with my powered melee, so I can just get it. Now on my exotic boots, the Star Eater scales, I'm rocking Font of Wisdom. Picking up an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type grants you a temporary significant increase to your intellect, improving the recharge rate of your super. So whatever your intellect is at, once you collect an arc elemental well, since we're on an arc subclass, it bumps your intellect from whatever it is to 100 for a certain period of time. And lastly on the class item, two big ones here. First up being Elemental Time Dilation. Elemental Well mods that grant you time-limited benefits now stack, increasing the duration of the effect for each copy of the mod you have equipped. So any time-based Elemental Well mods, those last longer. So things like Font of Might and Font of Wisdom. And then the big one here, Thunderous Retort. This one is from the artifact. Now, this is kind of a big one. Grants bonus arc super damage if cast while critically wounded or while amplified. That's why I was talking about if we want to be amplified constantly, or at least make sure that we can be amplified before we launch our super, and then lasts until the end of the super activation. So pretty much this is going to last the entire duration of the Gathering Storm Arc Staff super, which is just absolutely nuts. Now, if you wanted to look into using other mods, there's a couple that I could potentially recommend, but I feel like the ones that I'm using is probably the best case scenario. But if you wanted to pair something like Taking Charge, again, become Charge of Light by picking up Orbs of Power, or using something like Elemental Charge, where you become Charge of Light by picking up Elemental Well, and you automatically get 2 stacks if it's the one that's matching your subclass energy type. Again, if we're going to be rocking Arc Subclass, creating Arc Wells, we're going to get ×2, and pairing that with either A, High Energy Fire. Again, you gain bonus to weapon damage. Once you defeat the combatant, it consumes 1 stack of Charge of Light. Or if you wanted to focus on the super energy stuff again, and you wanted to focus more on the grenade, again, while you're Charge of Light, using your grenade attack grants you super energy, consuming all stacks of Charge of Light. The more stacks you have, the more energy you gain, up to a maximum of 50% of your super. So once you get to 50% of your super, energy converter does not work. But again, you can get your super fairly quickly right off the bat, but then again, you still have to work for it. And again, if you did want to do that, you could pair it with Supercharge. Again, you gain an additional 2 stacks of Charge of Light, up to a maximum of 5. So again, if you're creating orbs or elemental wells and you want to become Charge of Light, you can do that. Again, I think that's kind of a waste with the other mods that you could potentially be using, but it is something to look into if you did want to use it. Now with this one, the main stat to focus on, in my opinion, again, resilience is a big one. If you have 100, you get a 40% damage reduction in PvE, which is just absolutely insane. Again, this build is based upon getting our super, but having a high intellect really isn't going to matter, especially if we're going to be creating elemental wells and having Font of Wisdom on here. I don't find it very necessary to have a high intellect if we're going to have Font of Wisdom up almost constantly for the max, super cooldown. So again, I would just focus on resilience and any other stats that you want to focus on. Most of it's pretty versatile, but definitely 100 resilience is going to be king here. So for weapon options, honestly, any arc weapons in general is going to be fantastic for this to pair with Harmonic Siphon on the helmet. Again, rapid weapon final blows that match your subclass energy type, creating an orb of power. So arc weapons are going to be key here. Things like Trinity Ghoul, Delicate Tomb, Brigand's Law, Salvager Salvo. Again, any of these arc weapons are just going to be really good to use. Another option to look into, if you wanted an exotic primary, you could look into Bad Juju, because again, getting String of Curses, its perk kills with refill the magazine, increase the damage, and grant super energy based upon the strength of String of Curses. So if you're constantly killing ads, being able to have a weapon that auto reloads, increases damage, and grants super energy can be very good as well. But again, arc weapons are going to be key too, because with the Spark of Amplitude, rapidly defeating targets while you're amplified creates an orb of power. And again, we're going to be amplified by getting melee kills or just getting rapid kills with arc weapons in general. So there's a couple ways to do this. There's a lot of weapon options, so you can kind of play around with this a lot, which is good. If you're not catching the synergy here, it's pretty simple in my opinion. So again, we want to create an Arc Elemental Well, either through Melee Wellmaker or Elemental Armaments. We pick that up, we gain Font of Might and Font of Wisdom, and both of those last longer because of Elemental Time Dilation. Again, Font of Wisdom is the big one, allowing us to keep our intellect up to 100 for longer, so we get that increased super cooldown. And again, the mods on the helmet, which is Harmonic Siphon, again, getting those rapid weapon kills with arc weapons creates an orb of power, and then getting any melee kills because of hands-on gives us bonus super energy, which is going to be fantastic. And pairing that with obviously the Arc 3.0 stuff on the subclass, becoming amplified by defeating any jolted targets, which is fantastic. Spark of Amplitude, rapidly defeating targets while you're amplified, creates an orb of power. If you need to become amplified quickly, all you do is finish the target with Spark of Bolts. Again, that is going to be great. And then once we have our super energy, picking up any extra orbs allows Star Eater scales to max out. And again, we're going to be creating orbs pretty easily here, like I mentioned. Once we get that maxed out and we're amplified, Thunderous Retort is going to kick in on the subclass, which is going to grant us that bonus arc super damage. So again, we're getting the bonus from Feast of Light on Star Eater scales and Thunderous Retort from the artifact mod, which is disgusting. Like I mentioned, this build in particular isn't really meant to do anything other than cause very high damage with the super. This is meant for boss DPS, because once you launch that Gathering Storm super, once you launch that staff, you can do DPS with your heavy weapons, whether it's linears, Gallahorn, rocket, whatever you're using. That is pretty much easy mode, because with all these other supers, like even with like Nova Bomb is probably the closest comparison I can do, but it's not as accurate. It's not as fast. it can, especially the Slovo Bomb, it can get in the way. The only problem with Thunder Crash is that you have to be in the super while you're using it for the one hit, and you have to get close to the target. Again, with Gathering Storm, if you need to be in a certain area to launch the super, you can do that. And the Arc Staff is, it launches in a freaking straight line. So again, all you have to do is aim at your target. It's going to smack them instantly, and then you can just get into DPS with your weapons, which is going to allow for a lot of damage. Again, this build is just to get the super quickly, overcharge the super, you're amplified, you launch the super, good DPS. You are going to be the guy that's going to be doing a lot of damage with this build. You're also going to be creating orbs in general, which is going to help you and your teammates, and then Arc Elemental Wells, which, again, if the team needs those, again, you're going to be creating them anyway. So, again, this build in particular, it's so simple. All right, guys, that is my Arc 3.0 Star Eater Scales maximum super damage build. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, if you like what you saw, again, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then turn that bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on any build videos or any other content that I'm going to be coming out with. Again, if you didn't know, I am streaming here on YouTube now. We are no longer on Twitch. We're streaming here on YouTube. Same bat time, same bat channel, 3 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Again, we are doing Dungeon and King's Fall carries. If you need them, again, just tune into the stream. We can definitely help you out. And if you want to be proactive, be sure to join my Discord. That link will be in the description. Again, we have people that are looking to do activities constantly, and again, that's going to be the best way for us to communicate for any of these dungeon runs. Lastly, if you didn't know, we became a YouTube partner recently, which is freaking awesome. It's given us access to a bunch of features, which one of them is memberships. If you don't know what a membership is, it's pretty much like a Twitch subscription. Again, if you want to look into that, all you have to do is press the join button next to the subscribe button. Again, it's going to give you access to emotes, badges, and other exclusive stuff here on the channel. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Catch you in the next one. Cheers.